Hey everybody, and welcome to the Gauntlet, where we go over everything esports news. I'm your host, Captain Zeus, followed by my co-hosts JT and Novaverse. Today we're going to be going over the Week 1 matchups for the Overwatch League. A lot of good stuff that happened here. We're going to start off with the New York-London matchup. New York was absolutely dominant, just unbelievable, absolutely crazy. JT, do tell me, how did New York pull this off with a dominant sweep?
Well, like I told everyone, Thursday, New York is a team that's just going to roll over competition as a team, as a unit. Doesn't change from last year, doesn't change to this year. They're showing their dominant skills already, just rolling over people. This game wasn't even really that close. They just kind of took every point, pressured where they needed to, held their ults, took good team fights, everything a good team needs to do. They're looking like a top 3 team right now.
That is a true statement. That's a true statement. A lot of good plays going on the New York side, especially with Jay Jonak. Saw him going crazy. Nova, with this loss from, the New York team, how does London feel going into this next week?
I mean, this is probably going to be pretty hard for London, losing to a dominant New York team. But honestly, they just brush it off, to be honest. It's the first match for this season. They shouldn't take it too heavy on themselves. Honestly, they should take this as, like I said, an experience. Sure, you didn't win a match, but hey, you versed against a dominant team. You know what one of the best teams out in this league is like. Now you can go into other matches and be like, hey, we're going up against maybe like a Shanghai or something. This matchup ain't too hard. We've seen better, maybe we can win some matches. So I think just take this as experience if you're London.
Okay. JT, how did you feel after that matchup for New York? Were you pretty confident that their next matchup was going to be a sweep?
I was pretty confident the next matchup was going to be a sweep. I actually thought London was going to give a bit more fight than they did. I have them rated a little bit higher going into preseason than most. So it was a bit of a shock to me that it was as one-sided as it was. New York really has come together as a unit. They're still playing at top level. It's hard to continue to do that, but I was a little bit surprised. I didn't think we were going to go 6-0 in matches this week. That was kind of a shock to me.
Yeah, absolutely crazy. And Nova, what do you think London's got to fix in order to start making some wins going into this next week?
Honestly, I feel like it's team composition. These are just new players on a new team, and maybe they were able to practice in off season. But honestly, when you come into the regular season, it's an entirely different atmosphere. So now that they've gotten some practice in with a top dominant team like New York, now just work on team composition. Hey, maybe supports can do a little bit of this, tanks shield better on this point or something like that. Just team composition, communication with each other, and I think London can overcome this loss.
Okay.
Honestly, yes. And speaking of first week matchups, we also had Toronto versus Paris. Toronto seemed to be the underdog in this matchup. JT, how do you feel about Toronto? However, being the upcomer and actually surprising everyone with a dominant win?
Well, Toronto kind of scared me, to be completely honest with you. First match, I actually kind of had them written off. It was so one-sided that I was like, well, I don't know. How do you bounce back from that? And man, they proved it the very next game. They came out, they really played smart. They played as a unit, they played as a group. They just played the bait game better. So when all the shields are up and teams are poking back and forth, they just played the inch-by-inch ground better, moving slowly forward and getting the picks where necessary. I was really impressed with them. Just shows you the Canadian teams are here to play, here to stay. So I'm pretty proud of my Canadians over there.
Yeah, okay. And Zeus, how do you feel? Paris, they seem like a really good team, and they seemed like they were gonna win this matchup. What happened? Did they lose their footing? Something? What happened?
So it's funny. JT mentions this. He texted me saying like, "Yeah, I stopped watching after that first match. I thought it was it." They surprised me too, to be honest. I had them written off. I didn't think they were going to do good at all. I mean, sure, they picked up Surefour, and he's an amazing player. He honestly, in my opinion, I think he carried that entire team. That the rest of the matches past that too. I think the secret to them winning was the maple syrup because they're Canadians. So it's hard to go against maple syrup when you're French.
You're French.
Yes.
Wow. Okay. Well, I mean, Toronto, they weren't exactly hot last season. JT, do you have anything to say? Maybe something they carried over from last season, brought into this season that helped them maybe get a double?
Well, honestly, it's not what they brought over; it's what they didn't bring over. The inconsistencies of the team, they've really locked up a lot of the problems they've had. A lot of that comes with new players, new management, stuff like that. But they really have, with the younger players, brought in a new dynamic that hopefully is a winning formula. I don't know that for sure. It's only week 1, but they have looked pretty strong. And I don't think the teams that they've been playing in scrims and in the Overwatch League are weak teams. So hopefully they're coming out and they're actually showing the true form and not, some illusion of a good team.
Good. Okay. Zeus, any final thoughts?
It's tough. We were looking dominant that first map. After that first map, I don't know what happened. Once Surefour got in, everything just went to crap. We did have Soon that was out that first map, which is kind of tough. But he was one of our top players who really helped make plays and helped the team out. This loss, I mean, it was bad. It was bad. No one expected this one. But I think they're going to be able to come back from this and learn from their mistakes and be able to move on. But speaking of Canadian teams, there was that LA Gladiators Vancouver matchup. What a game. 3-2. 3-2. JT, real quick. What's up with that, man? What's up with that?
Well, as someone who's a fanboy of both teams, I think everyone has greatly underrated the LA Gladiators. I think everyone's put them pretty far down on their lists for the most part, of their power ranking lists. Mm-hmm. And Vancouver, it still looks like a dominant team. They've shown it 2 days in a row now. I am a firm believer that the LA Gladiators is a top 10 team. And I really do think they're going to be dominant this year. They had some weaknesses, but they also played one of the best teams in the league right now. So it's hard to pick apart a team when they took 2 games off Vancouver. As far as Vancouver's still, they're the best Canadian team by far. They're probably, top 4 teams in the league right now. Just very strong play, not really weak points anywhere on that team or roster. So very impressive show by both teams.
Hey Nova, how do you feel being LA Gladiators didn't do the greatest last season, but took 2 maps off of one of the top 5, arguably top 4 or 3 teams? How does this fare for all the rest of the teams in the league?
Honestly, I found that really surprising. This matchup was really exciting. The back and forth between these 2 teams. One team that was extremely dominant last season, going off into the playoffs and heck, even to the finals. And then a team that didn't do exactly so hot. And I found this to be really rejuvenating for LA. I feel like if a team can do something like that, it's not impossible that an upset can happen with a lower tier team doing that to a top 5 team here in the league or in this season. So I found that really exciting for that to happen.
Okay.
Also, another matchup we had, Los Angeles Valiant versus Dallas Fuel, came out to a 3-1 matchup. Zeus, how do you feel about this matchup?
Okay, I'm just going to say this right here. Valiant was looking extra spicy. Right. Oh, they were looking good. Not only did they beat Dallas, which honestly did a lot better than I expected. I was writing them off. I was thinking they were going to be absolutely terrible. JT, you need to calm down. I was thinking it was going to be absolutely terrible, but they not only took a map, they're making that victory really difficult. But we beat them in their home turf, so I'm really happy about that. That was absolutely awesome. Great plays from both sides, amazing. I can't say more. It was really good. I don't want to trash talk JT. Cool.
And JT, I know this was in Dallas, home. It's kind of hard taking a loss there, but hey, Dallas was still looking promising. How do you feel about that?
And I can't be happier for Dallas right now. Yeah, we took 2 L's this week, but improvements all the way around. Valiant's looking better than they were last year. They're probably like a 15th ranked team. Sorry, hate to tell you that, but they are. Dallas came out with a little bit slow starting. They kind of didn't have their footing. They definitely picked that up later, which we'll talk about later, I'm sure. But, I'm pretty proud of them. All things considered, the new roster spots are working. The new DPS, the new tank line, support line. It's all kind of coming together. It's looking pretty good. There's this player I'm going to talk about later who stepped up quite a bit. So overall with the Dallas team, I'm pretty pumped. One quick question for Zeus over there.
Oh, goodness.
How'd you feel about getting booed off the stage? It's my kind of home place.
Yeah. When you win and have to get booed off the stage, it was good. That felt good for me. I was like, you know what? You guys are getting booed, but you took a dub. You enjoyed that.
All I'm saying, that's my kind of place. Where they boo you when you walk in and when they walk out.
I can't deny that those fans are loyal. They're like Lions fans. They're loyal even though you lose.
Burn blue, baby. Burn blue.
Yeah, that's definitely a tough atmosphere to play in, especially knowing the fans will do something just like that, boo, whenever they don't feel anything is right. Zeus, how do you feel playing in Dallas with those kind of fans? How Los Angeles Valiant still overcame that?
Honestly, I think being Dallas and Los Angeles has a lot more experience doing on-stage matchups. First season was all in the Blizzard Arena in I believe it was California. It was in California. Then the second season, they did most of their matches in the Blizzard Arena. They also did some in Dallas. They did some in Philly and New York. So they have a lot more experience doing on-stage with a really live and energetic crowd. So I wasn't too worried that if it was going to affect their gameplay because they have experience doing it. Now with the expansion teams, I'd be a little worried since they don't really know too much. They don't have that much experience on stage, but I feel like it was fine. But speaking of amazing matchups, New York, again, dominated another team in their home city. Once again, JT, how do you feel about that? New York is looking extremely dominant, just like they did season 1. Are they coming back? Are they coming back for this?
Well, that's a stupid question. Did they ever leave? Come on now. Just because they lost in the playoffs over there doesn't mean they left. They were still dominant. They've been dominant forever. What do you expect from a dominant team other than to dominate? You saw it throughout all the matchups. They're over there just... It wasn't even a competition. Last week, Nova's over there giving all his energy to his teams. New York didn't need that. They're just crushing people. I'll wait to give my energy to them when they actually come across a challenge and, not just wrecking kids.
Wow, that is quite a statement. Nova,
that hurts.
Yeah, I feel you there. I know you were really rooting for Boston, wanting them to get a dub out and, take revenge on their constant losses against these opening matches against New York. What happened? What do you think was their falling point in this matchup?
Honestly, I'm just gonna have to say it. New York is just a really excellent team, and it's really tough facing against it. I'll give it to you, JT. I'll give it to you. New York is very, very good. Now, I feel like Boston, like I said, last season, they weren't so hot. They weren't. But honestly, I felt some improvement though going up against New York. Was able to win some matches. I know gave a little bit of trouble to New York sometimes, but New York was really dominant. It was really tough watching. Like JT said, I tried to give my energy, but I guess it was just not enough. The Spirit Bomb was not enough to face against me.
So real quick, JT, who do you think was the highlight of that matchup? because
Oh.
there were so many plays.
I mean, there's countless amount of plays. I mean, that game was a highlight reel for New York, really.
It really
And
was.
nothing's going to prove my next point. I've got something I'm going to throw it to. Boston, I mean, let's be real. New York could have picked some people out of the crowd, and they probably would have performed just as well. You know, one guy from the crowd, get the home team pumped up. New York's already pumped up. Bring that dude in.
Ooh.
You know why? Because
That's
we got
tough.
people like Jay Jonak wrecking kids. You want to throw that clip up there? Yeah, watch this
jeez.
clip. Literally wrecks this Reaper out of nowhere. Are you kidding me? A 1v1 play like that? Sure, Jay Jonak's really good, but come on. You're a DPS at full health. Come on. You can't let plays like that happen, Boston. That's just ridiculous. That's why New York's steamrolling you. It's because they could get a guy from out of the crowd because Jay Jonak's carrying. They've got so many carries. I mean, anyone on that roster can beat Boston. I'm just saying they're kind of an all-star team over there.
Wow. That is true in a lot of ways. Holy cow. Nova, how do you combat that? Boston's just not looking that good. What's going on?
The only benefit of the doubt I'm going to give to Boston is that it's the beginning of the season. Other than that, they did look like a hot mess. And I mean, going against a New York team, it's gonna hurt. It's you're just gonna have to take that punishment. But guess what? I feel like that with that punishment, you can at least take experience. And I don't know what Boston had on the sideline, maybe some trouble, communication. Just that was a big oof for Boston. Big.
And last question for you guys on this matchup. How do you think, and I'm direct this to you, Nova, how do you think Boston's going to change, or what do you think they're going to change to be able to get some wins these next couple of weeks?
Honestly, I feel like they need to work on team composition for real. Communication is really key. Maybe they might work on a few metas. I know in the beginning when they were going against New York, they tried to do a dive comp, and New York basically just mirrored right off of them. And during the matchup, Boston tried to stay one step ahead by changing characters and try to like trip over New York or trip them up. But honestly, New York was like, hey, we can take this. You changing characters aren't really gonna do that much. But I feel like them changing characters, it hurts them because that means you gotta recharge your ult again.
Mm-hmm.
And then two, it just, if you don't have that much experience, like if that's not your best character, you're not gonna perform your best. Unlike New York, who didn't have to change that much, they just have to play the same characters again. They're able to get their ults, and then they're playing characters they're comfortable with. So team communication, and then just the meta they're trying to run with.
And JT, New York obviously doesn't need to change much. They're looking extremely dominant. What do you think they'd have to do to keep this up, to keep this undefeated streak up? What do you think they have to keep up?
Well, just like the play we saw earlier, just individual skill plays like that, it's going to be a huge thing for this team to be able to take it all the way home, be able to make it all the way through the playoff brackets. They've had some trouble in playoff brackets before. If every individual member is able to play as a unit and carry on their own position, that's going to make a huge difference for this team, being able to take out teams like San Francisco Shock and other top teams. They're going to have to be able to continue to play as a unit, but also carry their own roles for the team and kind of set the bar higher for every other team. Especially with Hero Band coming up inevitably, I think that's going to be a big deal. So, team play, baby. That's what's going to win this league.
But that'll wrap it up here for today. I'm Captain Zeus, followed by my co-hosts Novaverse and JT, and we will catch you guys in the next video.